Like, if you've been following the news this week, you know it's been, well, a truly high-stakes few days.
Absolutely intense.
Yeah, we've seen these mass missile strikes hitting Ukraine, drones actually crossing into NATO airspace, and for the first time, active air defense takedowns happening right over Polish territory.
A dramatic period, no question.
Sure, but here's the interesting part, maybe the plot twist. Through all of that, Poland's response, it's been remarkably disciplined, very measured. So today we're taking a deep dive into Poland's strategic and frankly incredibly calm posture as this Zapad military exercise kicks off.
Right.
We've got some great source material, particularly a recent week in progress brief from Poland today. It gives this really unparalleled look into how a nation manages such a volatile situation without letting panic take over.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Avoiding the panic.
Exactly. So our mission here is to get beyond those headlines, to pull out the practical implications, for your daily life, for the economy, regional stability. We really want you to walk away understanding how a country prepares for and manages this kind of disruption, especially when the goal of deterrence, as our source puts it, switches from being a single event to an ongoing routine.
And that shift is really... it's profound, moving from just reacting to an incident to managing this ongoing, almost, routine state of high alert.
Right.
It's not just tweaking policy. It feels like a fundamental change in maybe national psychology and certainly operational rhythm.
Okay.
So we're going to explore all of it. Military readiness, sure, but also digital security, the ripple effects on the economy, even basic civil preparedness stuff. It's really like a masterclass in national resilience.
A masterclass. I like that.
Yeah. And we'll get into what it really means when a nation's border isn't just, tested, but actively enforced. And not just with jets and missiles, but with these incredibly disciplined, almost methodical processes.
Okay, let's unpack this strategic masterclass then. We absolutely need to start by setting the scene because the context is just, it's everything here.
Agreed.
Think back just to the start of the week, Monday, Tuesday, that's when we got that initial shockwave, right? Those mass strikes on Ukraine, then the drones slipping into Polish airspace, leading to those really critical kinetic takedowns, meaning, they were actually shot down right over NATO territory.
Which is a huge deal, a first for the alliance in this whole situation.
Absolutely. A dramatic moment, any way you slice it.
Definitely. Then, Wednesday and Thursday, things shifted. We saw this rapid, but still very, very measured, diplomatic and defensive strengthening.
Like the Article 4 consultations.
Exactly. Article 4, that's a significant NATO step, basically members getting together to consult on security threats. Plus, you had tightened borders. And crucially, this 43.7 billion mole, a huge number in dedicated security funding.
Safe funding, right?
That's the one, safe funding. It was quickly lined up specifically for air defenses and, importantly, counter-drone systems, Counter-UAS.
So protecting the skies from those unmanned things is clearly priority number one.
It's an immediate, clear priority. Absolutely.
Okay, and that brings us to today, Friday, September 12th, 2025. This is when the Zapad hot phase officially opens. So what does this actually mean for Poland on the ground? It feels like a fundamental shift, doesn't it?
It really is.
Moving from reacting to these one-off incidents to managing this ongoing, almost constant state of high alert.
Precisely. The core strategy for Poland seems to have crystallized into discipline amidst disruption. That's the phrase that keeps coming up.
Discipline amidst disruption.
Yeah. And if you zoom out a bit, the headline, you could say, has genuinely shifted from drama to discipline. It's less about the shock of the initial event now, and more about the sustained, calm management of this elevated risk environment. And that sends a powerful message, right? Not just internally to Poles, but to any potential adversary watching.
Okay, and that disciplined approach, it's clearly showing up in the current situational picture, especially airspace vigilance.
Yeah.
The Poland Today brief flags that as of this morning, say 6 a.m. to noon CET, no fresh incursions reported.
Which is significant.
What does that signal to you, that lack of fresh incursions, especially with Zapad actually kicking off today?
Well, it signals, I think, two main things. First, their active defense is likely working as a deterrent. It's making direct violations too risky or costly.
Okay.
But maybe more importantly, it reinforces that whole discipline amidst disruption strategy. It shows these provocations aren't causing panic. They're met with a steady, unyielding response.
Not just sitting back, either.
No, definitely not static defense. Our sources mention the continued presence of extra CPs.
Yeah.
Those are combat air patrols.
Right, the fighters.
Exactly, flying on the Eastern Arc.
Yeah.
Plus, you've got AWACS, those big airborne radar planes and ground radar coverage holding steady. It's active, constant watchfulness.
But the threat isn't just physical objects in the sky, is it? The sources point to something more subtle, almost invisible. Electronic warfare, GNSS disruption.
Yes, the invisible front.
Yeah, talking about intermittent jamming, spoofing near the border overnight. Apparently, it caused navigation apps in some border districts, the POWIATs, to show brief anomalies. So it's not just military hardware, it's messing with the signals our phones, our cars, everything relies on.
Absolutely, and that raises a really critical point. How does this invisible front actually impact daily life?
Yeah.
The source material flags a really concerning edge case. The potential danger of GNSS spoofing during medical flights.
Wow, okay.
Imagine you're piloting an emergency medical helicopter, relying on GPS, and suddenly those signals are deliberately manipulated.
Yeah.
It just hammers home how these technical details aren't abstract military concepts. They can literally be life and death.
Makes it very real, not just for strategists or, Bond villains.
Exactly. Not just Bond villains. It affects everyone.
So while a lot of this is playing out electronically unseen, the very real effects are still felt on the ground, particularly at those border crossings.
Right.
For people moving goods or traveling, the situation at the Belarus crossings is now on timed control. What does that mean exactly?
It means freight is still moving, but it's slower, much slower. You get these spot queues that flare up and then fade away.
So an inconvenience, a slowdown, but not a complete halt.
Correct. The key seems to be that it's controlled, it's managed, maybe even predictable to some extent. And despite all this, civil aviation schedules are apparently remaining normal.
Really?
Yeah, airports are operating on a pre-cleared NOTAM playbook if any raids were to resume.
A NOTAM? That's a notice to airmen, right? Like an advisory.
Exactly, essential info for pilots. So they have these pre-approved procedures ready to go if needed, but they're not disrupting normal flights unnecessarily, which, again, speaks to that same disciplined, layered approach.
Okay, interesting. Let's shift focus a bit beyond the immediate border. Let's talk about the economic side, the practical ripple effects.
Yeah, important stuff.
You might think with tensions this high, financial markets would be, going haywire.
You might expect that, yeah.
But the sources suggest a surprising amount of stability. Poland's inflation, the CPI headline, is at 2.8%. That means the national bank isn't being forced into any sudden drastic interest rate moves.
Right, there's some breathing room.
They seem to be waiting for the core inflation numbers next Tuesday, which suggests a calm, data-driven approach even now.
It's actually quite remarkable the resilience the market seems to be showing. The Polish zloty, the PLN, is trading range-bound. It's staying within expected limits.
Okay.
And we're seeing short-term government bond yields taking their cues more from what's happening in the Eurozone economically rather than these immediate security headlines.
So, zooming out, what does that tell you?
It suggests that while, yes, vigilance is incredibly high, the market isn't currently pricing in a severe escalation, which says a lot about how Poland's steady response is being perceived.
Oh, okay, that's macro picture. For smaller businesses, especially anything involving logistics, the crunch sounds very real.
Oh, absolutely.
The brief points out diesel and insurance are the swing inputs for SME costs this week. So those two things are really driving up expenses for small and medium-sized businesses.
Big drivers.
And, maybe most tellingly, freight quotes include a Zapad buffer surcharge near the frontier. That's a direct hit to the bottom line, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It shows exactly how these big geopolitical events filter right down to everyday economic realities.
Right.
Think about a small trucking company, probably operating on thin margins already, now having to factor in these extra costs. Our sources even suggest some practical playbooks emerging.
Like what?
Well, for logistics firms, it means building in maybe an extra hour or two buffer for those Poland-Belarus routes, pre-booking rail slots much earlier, maybe shifting critical shipments to daylight hours near the border.
Makes sense.
And for other SMEs, it might be about trying to lock in fuel hedges if they can, or really double-checking their insurance clauses cover security disruptions. It's proactive, almost mundane stuff, but crucial for staying afloat.
And just for anyone listening who might be planning travel or moving goods over there, the sources have some pretty concrete advice.
Yeah, very practical.
For road travel, they're saying add a plus 60 120-minute buffer for PLBY controls. That's the Belarus border. But interestingly, routes into Ukraine, the PLUA routes, are described as normal with occasional spot checks.
Right, so it highlights exactly where the pressure points are right now.
Definitely.
And if you're looking at rail, or intermodal, combining truck and rail.
Yeah.
That's shouldering more load because it's maybe seen as a bit more secure or predictable right now. So the advice is reserve slots early for eastbound flows. Get your bookings in.
Got it. And air cargo?
Generally, no general holds, which is good news. But carriers might choose to move really high-value items during daylight hours, avoiding the Zapad nights, just as an extra security layer.
Okay, so these are all direct, actionable things people and businesses can actually do to navigate this, hopefully with less disruption.
Exactly, helping them manage the situation.
So beyond the balance sheets and the freight routes, what about the people, the human element? How is Poland keeping its citizens calm but prepared with all this pressure?
Yeah, and this is where that Polish strategy really seems to shine. The focus is clearly on calm, not alarm.
Okay.
It boils down to practical, everyday actions. Things like enable government alerts on your phone. Keep a power bank charged. Simple, right?
Yeah.
Use offline maps if you're in those border districts, the powiats. Know where your nearest shelter is, or at least a solid shelter-ready space like a basement.
Basic preparedness.
Exactly. And a really crucial piece of advice they're pushing. Don't chase rumor routes. Don't spread or react to unverified information.
That makes sense. Rumors can spread like wildfire in these situations.
They really can. And what stands out is the strategic communication behind all this. There's profound insight from the sources. Don't assume more announcements equals more safety.
Counterintuitive almost.
It is. But the thinking is fewer, clearer alerts, lower panic, and rumor spread. It's a sophisticated understanding of public psychology in a crisis.
Fewer, clearer alerts.
Yeah. They've even standardized this 3-line alert format for local authorities and public facilities. It's Kosiceje, Korobimi, Korobich, Miskakowi.
Which translates to
What's happening, what we're doing, what residents should do. Super clear, actionable information. No fluff, no fear-mongering.
Wow. Okay, so it's a very deliberate effort to manage the information flow, stop panic before it starts, and just give people concrete steps.
Precisely, and the official communication lines reinforce this. Things like fence-tested, fence-enforced. Posture is steady, not escalatory.
Steady, not escalatory. Key message.
Fewer clear alerts. Will ping only when action is needed. It just speaks to this deep understanding of how to communicate effectively under pressure.
It really does.
And there's this analogy the source uses, which I think is just brilliant.
Yeah.
They describe it as adopting a de-icing mindset.
De-icing, like on an airplane.
Exactly. Treat the frontier like winter operations. De-icing mindset, slow, layered, disciplined.
Ah, okay, I get it.
So it's not about dramatic last-minute scrambling. It's about having systematic, almost mundane procedures in place before the crisis fully hits to prevent ice, or in this case, chaos, from building up.
That's a fantastic analogy. It makes this really complex national security posture feel understandable, relatable even.
It does, doesn't it? It reframes it as methodical resilience, not just brute force.
Okay, so let's look ahead then. Poland's clearly investing heavily in security. Where's that safe funding going first?
The immediate focus, according to the brief, seems to be on scoping out the early safe tranches towards sensors, jammers, air SHORAD.
SHORAD, short-range air defense.
Correct, short-range air defense, and also critically, spares pipelines. Keeping existing systems running is just as important as buying new ones.
So it sounds like they're learning lessons very quickly and putting the money where it has the most immediate impact.
That's exactly the sense you get. The direct quote from the sources sums it up. Money matches the lesson. Sensors and counter-UAS first.
Sensors and counter-UAS. Drones again.
It shows a really clear strategic priority. It's not about the flashiest fighter jets right now. It's about investing in the capabilities that directly counter the most immediate, persistent threats, drones, and electronic interference. Very pragmatic.
Makes sense. The brief also lays out some scenarios for the next 72 hours or so based on probability, which is fascinating.
Yeah, very insightful for planning.
The base scenario, the most likely one at 65% probability, is basically no repeat incursions, nightly EW noise, border slow, but stable. This is the boring is the plan outcome they seem to be aiming for.
Exactly. And achieving that boring outcome in these circumstances is actually the win. That is the plan succeeding.
Right. Then there's the downside scenario, about a 25% chance, that involves a handful of drones skirting the line during a Zapad night, maybe quick intercepts, brief airport holds, louder rhetoric from neighbors.
A bit more friction, but still managed.
Still managed. And finally, the upside, only a 10% chance, a quiet window combined with maybe a good core CPI print on Tuesday.
Ah, the economic data point.
Right. leading to calmer markets and maybe some early positive news about how those safe tranches will be used.
So these scenarios, they help manage expectations, both internally and for allies, right? They're thinking through the possibilities.
Definitely. So let's tie this all together. What happens when we connect the micro-level decisions to the macro-level picture? The source has this really profound line.
Which one?
Micro, NOTAM timing. Macro, NATO credibility. Decisions at minute scale ripple into alliance signaling. That feels huge.
It is huge. It really reframes how we should think about modern deterrence, I believe.
How so?
Well, it means every small, disciplined action, controlling a border crossing effectively, issuing a NOTAM at the right moment, intercepting a drone cleanly, it all contributes to this larger narrative.
Okay.
It's not just about protecting Polish territory anymore. It's about projecting competence, unity, and strength for the entire NATO alliance. These tiny, granular decisions on the ground add up to signal the alliance's overall resolve and credibility on the world stage.
Wow. So the way they handle a minor border queue actually matters for NATO's image.
In this context, absolutely. It all feeds into that perception of steady, reliable enforcement.
And that really brings us right back to the core insight of this whole deep dive, doesn't it? The sheer power and effectiveness of a disciplined, measured response over, dramatic reactions or escalations.
Precisely. For Poland, as the sources conclude, boring is the plan and the win.
This deep dive, it really does reveal these intricate layers of preparedness, of resilience that protect not just national security in the abstract, but the really mundane parts of daily life too.
Yeah, for making sure your GPS works.
Right. To keeping supermarket shelves stocked because freight is still moving.
Exactly. It's a testament to the idea that stability isn't passive. It's a deliberate, ongoing effort. It's a real lesson, I think, in how nations can navigate this constant low-level disruption without just hitting the panic button.
So as you, listening, reflect on Poland's experience this past week, maybe we can leave you with a thought to mull over. Given this really powerful example, what does a truly effective modern deterrent strategy actually look like, especially in an era like ours with constant low-level disruption almost the norm?
That's the big question, isn't it?
How do nations balance that constant vigilance with maintaining stability, ensuring critical infrastructure, everyday life, can actually continue even when geopolitical tensions are running high right next door?
It's incredibly complex. Poland certainly offers a fascinating and arguably quite successful case study right now.
Well, we hope this deep dive has helped you feel well-informed, maybe given you some things to think about, and helped you consider those big questions yourself.